Did you know that nearly 15% of immigrants to Canada choose to leave within just 20 years of their arrival? This trend is not only persistent but accelerating, with the current rate of onward immigration now over 30% higher than in previous years. But wait, Canada is supposed to be among the world's most welcoming nations, a place renowned for its high quality of life, superb healthcare, and abundant opportunities. So, what's going wrong? Imagine dedicating years to meticulously plan a life-changing move, enduring complex immigration processes, and finally stepping foot in a country that promises prosperity, only to face a harsh reality. For many, the Canadian dream quickly fades as the challenges become overwhelming. Soaring housing costs, unmet job expectations, and a cost of living that erodes savings faster than anticipated. Why is Canada, a nation celebrated for progressive values and a pro-immigration stance, facing an exodus of its newcomers? What forces are compelling these hopeful immigrants to reconsider their stay? In this video, we're going to delve into Canada's hidden struggles, issues of affordability, job market barriers, and shifting policies that are prompting many immigrants to rethink their place in the Great White North. Stay tuned, as what we uncover might just reshape your perspective on the Canadian dream. Why do immigrants move to Canada? Canada has long been a beacon of hope and opportunity for people around the globe. But what exactly makes this country so alluring? To answer that, we need to explore the factors that contribute to Canada's international appeal. From the outside, Canada presents an enviable reputation built on stability, universal healthcare, top-tier education, and a society that celebrates diversity and inclusion. For countless individuals, Canada offers the promise of safety, a robust social support system, and the chance for a brighter future for their families. Canada has actively positioned itself as a global leader in immigration, recognizing the value newcomers bring to its economy, its aging population, and its labor market. Take, for example, 2023, a record year in which Canada issued over 1.1 million invitations to apply, marking a staggering 136% increase from the previous year. The message was clear. Canada is open for business and eager to welcome those who wish to enrich its economic and social fabric. Canada's multicultural landscape also draws in people from around the world. The prospect of living in a place where one's heritage is not just accepted but celebrated is a powerful incentive, particularly for those from countries where assimilation feels like an uphill struggle. And education is another strong pull. Canada is home to some of the world's top universities, like the University of Toronto, McGill University, and the University of British Columbia. For international students, these institutions offer not only a first-rate education but also an entry point for securing permanent residency and building a career in a high-income country. The healthcare system is another major selling point. The promise of universal healthcare appeals to many immigrants who come from countries where even basic medical care can be prohibitively expensive. The reassurance of knowing you and your family will receive care without the looming fear of exorbitant medical bills provides a tremendous sense of security. And it's not just families seeking better living conditions who are drawn to Canada. Skilled workers and professionals are also attracted by opportunities within Canada's flourishing industries, including technology, healthcare, and construction. For immigrants with backgrounds in fields like software engineering and IT, Canada offers a promising alternative to the often cutthroat U.S. job market. But here's the twist. What begins as hope and excitement can all too quickly meet an unexpected reality. For many newcomers, the initial glow starts to fade as they encounter unforeseen challenges. While the promise remains, living in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, or Montreal exposes a different side of the coin. Extreme housing prices, a job market that fails to meet expectations, and a high cost of living that strains finances even for the most optimistic arrivals. Suddenly, the dream of homeownership and prosperity in a land of opportunity seems elusive. Immigrants who arrive with high hopes find themselves wondering if the sacrifices they made to move to Canada were worth it. The gap between expectations and reality becomes stark, pushing many to reevaluate their choices. The housing crisis. Among the pressing issues immigrants face, the housing crisis consistently tops the list. Canada's housing crisis isn't just a headline, it's a daily reality for thousands of newcomers. The numbers are staggering. In major cities like Toronto and Vancouver, home prices have surged over 50% in just a few years. Even rental prices have spiked, with rents climbing 20% to 30% in many urban centers. For new immigrants trying to establish a stable life, these costs are more than just a hurdle, they're a nearly insurmountable barrier. Imagine stepping off the plane brimming with hope, only to find that your savings barely cover the down payment on a modest apartment. Renting doesn't offer much relief either, as high-demand cities are fiercely competitive, leaving newcomers with limited options, often at high prices or in subpar living conditions. Some are even forced to move farther from job opportunities and essential services, exacerbating their struggles. The job market reality. While Canada's job market is one of the primary reasons immigrants choose to move here, the reality of finding well-paying, fulfilling work often falls short. On paper, the job market appears promising, especially with Canada's touted demand for skilled workers in fields like technology, healthcare, and construction. However, for many immigrants, securing employment is an uphill battle, with unexpected barriers that can make the journey to success long and arduous. A significant hurdle is the recognition of foreign credentials. Many immigrants arrive with degrees and qualifications that are highly respected in their home countries but struggle to have these credentials fully recognized in Canada. This forces some skilled professionals to undergo costly and time-consuming certification processes or accept jobs that fall well below their expertise just to make ends meet. Moreover, the paradox of Canadian experience requirements traps many newcomers in a frustrating cycle. Employers demand Canadian work experience, yet immigrants need jobs to gain that experience in the first place. Programs aimed at bridging this gap often fall short or fail to reach enough people to make a substantial difference. For those who do manage to find employment, high living costs in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal often erode their earnings. Wages might seem decent on paper, but when combined with the cost of housing, childcare, and daily necessities, many immigrants find themselves with little left over each month. Evolving immigration policies. One often overlooked factor influencing immigrants' decisions to leave Canada is the shift in immigration policies. While Canada has been globally known for its inclusive and welcoming approach, recent years have seen subtle yet impactful policy adjustments that have reshaped the landscape for newcomers. One major change has been the tightening of visa and residency requirements. Canada's points-based immigration system used to be relatively straightforward for skilled workers, particularly if they were young, educated, and fluent in English or French. But recent changes have raised the bar, making it harder for some applicants to reach the required points threshold. Additionally, stricter work permit renewals and new limitations on post-graduation work permits create a sense of instability for international students and skilled workers alike. Another significant shift is Canada's regionalization strategy, aimed at encouraging immigrants to settle in less populated areas rather than gravitating towards major urban centers. While the intention is to relieve pressure on large cities, many immigrants find the idea of relocating to remote regions daunting. Adjusting to life in rural areas with limited job opportunities, essential services, and cultural networks presents its own set of challenges. For some immigrants, recent family reunification policies, with longer wait times and higher fees, add another layer of complexity. For those intending to settle permanently, prolonged separation from loved ones can be unsettling and, in some cases, leads to a reconsideration of whether Canada is the right place to build a future. These evolving policies, while addressing Canada's own challenges, often create additional hurdles for immigrants. The initial promise of Canada's openness and inclusivity now feels harder to attain, leaving some feeling disillusioned. The Canadian dream, once vibrant and full of hope, begins to fade into a more nuanced and complex reality. As policies continue to evolve, it's uncertain if the Canadian dream will remain accessible for those who arrive with high hopes of a new life. The cost of living in Canada, often imagined by newcomers as a land of high quality of life and minimal financial strain, presents a reality that goes well beyond high housing costs. Essentials like groceries, transportation, and utilities have seen significant price hikes, intensifying the financial burden on immigrants striving to create a stable life. Starting with food costs, Canada's cold climate and short agricultural season drive up the prices of many goods, as much of the produce and staple items are imported. In recent years, grocery prices have surged, partly due to inflation and partly due to supply chain disruptions. For immigrants from countries where fresh produce is more affordable, this comes as a shock. Feeding a family in Canadian cities can quickly consume a substantial part of the monthly budget, limiting resources for savings or other necessities. Transportation also poses a hefty expense, especially in urban areas where owning a car is often seen as a necessity. While public transit exists in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, it's not always affordable or convenient, particularly for those who live further from city centers due to high housing costs. A monthly transit pass can cost anywhere between $100 and $150, and for families, these expenses add up quickly. For immigrants who invest in a car, additional costs such as insurance, gas, and maintenance are typically higher than in many other countries. Utility bills further compound the financial strain. Heating costs can spike in winter, especially in older buildings that lack energy efficiency, often the only housing option available for many immigrants. Electricity, water, and internet costs are substantial as well, and these utility expenses can be an unpleasant surprise. Soon, many newcomers realize that maintaining a comfortable lifestyle in Canada demands more resources than they had anticipated. For families with young children, childcare costs are a significant concern. In some provinces, daycare fees can range from $1,000 to $2,000 per month per child, often unaffordable for new immigrants just finding their footing. While subsidies and initiatives are being introduced in some provinces to make childcare more affordable, many immigrants face long waiting times to access these benefits, forcing one parent to stay home. This reduces household income, making it even harder to keep up with the cost of living. Why some immigrants decide to leave Canada. Although Canada continues to welcome thousands of newcomers each year, there's a noticeable trend of immigrants who ultimately choose to leave. For some, it's a difficult decision driven by frustration, disappointment, and a sense of unmet dreams. But what compels these immigrants to abandon the Canadian dream, to seek opportunities elsewhere or return to their home countries? One of the main reasons cited is the financial strain that accompanies the high cost of living. Many immigrants arrive in Canada with the expectation that a stable economy and ample job opportunities will allow them to build a comfortable life. However, they find themselves struggling to afford housing, utilities, and other essentials. For those with family back home in lower-cost countries, the contrast is even starker. After years of hard work and barely breaking even, some immigrants conclude that they might be financially better off returning home or moving to a country where their income goes further. For immigrant families, the choice to leave Canada is often motivated by the desire to provide the best possible future for their children. Despite Canada's high-quality education and safe communities, the costs of raising a family, especially childcare and housing, can feel overwhelming. Many immigrant parents find themselves working multiple jobs or long hours just to make ends meet, leaving little time for family life. Faced with the choice between staying in Canada and enduring these sacrifices or moving to a country with a lower cost of living but similar quality of life, some families find the latter option more practical. If you're an immigrant or considering a move to Canada, what are your thoughts? Do you believe the Canadian dream is still alive, or do you share some of the concerns we've discussed here? Share your perspective in the comments below, and let's start a conversation on what it truly takes to thrive as a newcomer in Canada. As we conclude, if you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up. We put a lot of effort into delivering well-researched content, so if you'd like to support us, consider subscribing. It's just one click, and it makes a huge difference. Thank you for watching.